a lot of people have these viral beliefs, I can't get this, or I'm not big enough, or my company doesn't offer the right product. And if you have that kind of belief and you don't visualize what I call your vital belief, the positive outcome, there's a good chance you're not going to get the deal.
This is Outside Sales Talk, the best podcast for outside salespeople. I'm your host, Steve Benson, and we're here to chat with the world's top sales experts so that you can get their best sales tactics to level up your game. Welcome back to Outside Sales Talk. Today, I've got Steve Sisgold with us, and we're going to talk about whole body intelligence, ways to increase your confidence and your sales success. Welcome to the show, Steve.
Thank you, Steve. Good to be here.
So by way of introduction, Steve is an author, speaker, and coach, and the book he wrote, Whole Body Intelligence, Get Out of Your Head and Into Your Body to Achieve Greater Wisdom, Confidence, and Success, is super cool, and I'm really excited to be finding out the wisdom that he has for us today here. So Steve, first question. Anxiety levels these days are extremely high, and you talk about 7 tips to reduce stress. Could you tell our listeners about those 7 ways and how to use them?
Absolutely, Stephen. I was in outside sales, so I can relate. And I think a big part of my success in outside sales, I sold business equipment. Before that, I was a number 1 out of 500. Not to brag, but to prove that so much of it was an internal game for me, that it wasn't just about the product. I was in advertising and so forth, but it really had to do with my preparation before I walked into every sale, things like that. So I'd like to share with you what I call my rebooting technique. What do we do when our computers are not up to speed? We reboot, right? It works best, just turn it off, start it over. So my rebooting technique, those 7 steps, pretty much step 1, and it's going to sound funny, but it seems to be the hardest one for people, is to make a commitment, meaning make a commitment to really place your attention here, not just out here, because people will pick up on it. And that was a big part of my success, is that before I walked into any sales call, or even people say, oh, you'll never sell a book. I've sold 3 to major publishers. And all of that really, I believe, came from the preparation work that I'm going to teach you. So the first one is make a commitment, like put your stuff away. People say, yeah, I'm listening, and I can hear something in the background, shuffling their mail. So make a commitment to just go deep within, and say, for the next 5 minutes or so, 7 minutes, I'm going to really prepare myself for this sales call or whatever you're going to do. And the second step is to breathe. And the reason I say that is because breathing not only relaxes you, but if you breathe way up in your chest, you're in your sympathetic nervous system, which is stressful and tense, and people pick that up. So I would sit in sales calls and just sit back and breathe in way down in my belly, filling it up through my nose, and just kind of to myself. And what I noticed is my customers relaxed. They would say, hey, I like that. You look relaxed, and they like to be around me. And a lot of sales is people want to feel comfortable. They want to be around you. So getting that commitment first and then breathing. The next thing I do is I scan my body. The worst thing to do in a sales call is to be fidgeting, to be shaking your leg, to be hunched over. So you want to be relaxed and check. I call it like scanning, like you scan anything. So what I do is I scan my body, and I notice, oh, wow, I was tense, or I'm leaning forward, or whatever. And then I'll declare that to myself kind of out loud. I'll say something like, I'm noticing my breath is a little shallow. Let's change that. Or I'm noticing I'm leaning towards the customer. Let me sit back and be a little more relaxed. And my customers thank me all the time. They kind of pick up on where you're coming from and what you're emitting. So I would declare that to myself, what I was noticing, and then I would take act. Step 5 is take an action. My action might be sitting back. My action might be uncrossing my legs. My action might be looking at my customer instead of my papers. So really take time to breathe, scan your body, say what you're noticing in your body. And then the next would be to visualize. And I would always visualize, this person's going to like what I have to say. People said you'll never sell a book when I had meetings with publishers. I was always visualizing them saying yes. Even if some said no, I was always visualizing walking out of there with that deal. When I was in sales, the same thing. People would say, oh, don't go to that client. Don't go to AT&T or those big clients. They're too big. I go, no, they're not too big for me. And I'm going to visualize us connecting and them buying what I want. And that's how I became very successful in outside sales. And then the last thing I would do is just make sure that I'm fully centered. Again, uncrossing my legs, noticing my shoulders. If they're up, I would relax them. And again, I really feel like I was selling business equipment. Most of us had the same business equipment. The difference was there was a certain ease that people felt, which equaled trust. And then when they trust you, they feel, well, this is the person that's going to take care of me when I need them. And I think that was a lot, that 7-step prep really was a big part of my success. And I still use it when I go in to see a publisher, when I'm on an interview. Before I met with you today, I did those 7 steps so I could be really, clear and focused and ready for this interview. So what do you think?
Yeah, I think, it's an action sequence of self-awareness. And I think for some people, being relaxed and self-aware is natural. And for other people, it's something that it can really be learned, and you can go through a process like this and learn how to relax your body, relax your mind, be focused on the moment, and it's going to improve your sales process. I think a lot of things that people say, oh, this person's a natural in sales, this person is just, it really, you can be born just like a, calm, relaxed person, and that helps. But all of these things, like someone is a natural at, they're all learnable skills, and none of them are, like I was going to say rocket science, but I guess that's also a learnable skill. but you can train yourself with an exercise like this to do better at that.
Well, the other thing, Steve, just before I forget, is you're more aware of your customer. So if my customer looks busy, why talk? I might check in and go, hey, is now a good time? Because the more I'm aware here, the more I'm aware of what my customer is doing, whether it's the phone or if I'm in front of them. And often that was really key. They would go, wow, you were really observant. Yeah, sorry, can I get this one thing out of the way? I go, that's perfect. Because I want their attention. Mm-hmm. And if they're doing something that I'm aware of, instead of just talking and selling, then we really have a connection. And that happened often, where somebody would be looking down or thinking, and they would say, wow, thank you. Yeah, I just need another minute. And I go, no problem. So you're here, but you're also staying aware, so you can, not talk while they're shuffling a paper or they're looking at your brochure. It's really being awake to the process and the communication between the 2 of you or 4 of you or whatever the group is.
Yeah, I think that's a really important thought. We're all slaves to our little buzzing devices in our pockets, and some people are much more so than others. I turn off all the vibrations and beeps and buzzes myself, but a lot of people, they ding for every email and feel like they have to. And maybe it's the corporate culture in some places, like you're really supposed to be, responding in 2 minutes to if your boss IMs you or whatever. But other, so if you're in a meeting with someone like that, none of us can really multitask. We just think we can. If you're in a meeting and someone is responding to the buzzing in their pocket, then I love what you just did there, where you said, is now a good time? Or if you just pause and say, oh, it's totally fine if you need to take care of that. I'm chill. I'll wait. I've got,
and I'm noticing, I'm not just talking and giving you my pitch, but I'm really wanting a connection. So I can be very present, so you're ready, and also I can share what I brought today, and it just builds rapport. Remember, as you know, in sales, people are watching. They're watching you, and if you're going to be in a relationship with them, speaking too fast, shaking your leg, not listening, not watching, the timing, the pause. I'm constantly saying to my clients, whoa, that was a great thing, but take a pause in between because I couldn't absorb it. Give me a minute to absorb it. And I think that's one of the mistakes, Steve, that a lot of salespeople miss. Give your client a chance to absorb what you just said. And the easiest way is to go, so do you have any questions about that? Or was that clear? And they love that because they're realizing like you really want them to hear what you have to say and vice versa. And that's presence. And that's the key to sales for me.
And a thing you said a couple minutes ago jumped out at me that I wanted to dive a little deeper on.
Sure.
You mentioned visualizing your success. Talk to me about how do you go about visualizing success for the customer and how that affects the sales cycle or affects your ability to close. Like you mentioned AT&T and people
Sure.
saying, "Oh, that's too big a customer. You can't be successful there selling to those guys."
Right.
How would you go about visualizing that? What does that mean to you?
Well, I think what that means to me, that's a great question, Steve. What that means to me is if you'll probably see in my work, I talk about kinds of beliefs. And one is a viral belief, which means like, oh, I'm not going to get the sale. They're too big. Oh, there are too many books on the marketplace. How many people said to me, oh, you'll never sell a book in today's market? I've sold 3 major publishers. It wasn't, I mean, of course it was the book proposal and the work I did, but so much of it had, for me, visualizing, this is a good publisher. We're going to have a good relationship. I'm going to be really clear in how I present what my book's about. And sometimes I would feel the opposite, like, hey, I don't know that this is the publisher I want to work with. They didn't seem to get what I had to say. So before I do anything or walk in or get on a radio or TV interview or anything, I just close my eyes for a minute. I take some breaths and relax, and I visualize what I want to have happen in this moment or this interview or this sale. It's so important because it gives you an idea of where you're going, what you believe. And like I said, a lot of people have these viral beliefs, I can't get this, or I'm not big enough, or my company doesn't offer the right product. And if you have that kind of belief and you don't visualize what I call your vital belief, the positive outcome, there's a good chance you're not going to get the deal. So for me, every time I go to see a client or a publisher or something that's really important, I visualize the outcome before I walk in. And I'm kind of, if you will, I'm in that mode, like it's already happened. I visualize how it's going to go, and I take some time to do that. Plus, just visioning, like take a moment to breathe and relax and, visualize your body relax, visualize your client listening. It just makes a difference for me. It really does. It's like I'm seeing ahead and noticing what I want versus kind of going in there and winging it and finding out later, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that completely makes sense. You talk about in your book, life is not meant to be an out-of-body experience. What do you mean by that? And how can field salespeople use that concept to help what they do?
Well, again, I think it's similar to some things I've said, and even more so is, we're watching TV, we're looking at our computer screens, we're looking here, we're looking there, and we don't know that we're shaking our leg. We don't know that we're gripping our fist. We're so unaware because we're out of our body. We're pretty much out of our body often, especially today with all the technology and all the news changing and tensions. And so often we're so unaware that we are in this body, and our expression, our communication, our sales pitch, whatever it is not just what's coming out of our mouth. It's coming out of our enthusiasm in our body, our relaxation in our body. When we talk about our product, if we make a funny face, if we seem to be a lack of confidence, it's picked up. So life often is an out-of-body experience. Most of the time, including myself, I have to catch it. When I'm working with clients, I notice that they're not really breathing. They're not feeling. They don't notice. They're like two people. They're in their mind speaking, and they don't realize that things are going on here. So try to stay in the body more through exercise, breathing exercises, visualization, and just reminding yourself, like, oh, wow, I wasn't breathing for the last 3 minutes. Oh, wow, I'm shaking my leg. Oh, wow, I'm hunched down while I'm speaking confidently about something. And unfortunately, more and more with what's happening in our technologies and our laptops all the time and our phones and stuff, most of us are out of our bodies quite a bit. And I feel like that really impacts for the outside salesperson. Again, get in your body. Gosh, I was always sitting in the waiting room until they called me in, breathing, relaxing, noticing. It could be the smallest thing, but I would catch it and rewire it. Like, hey, I want to walk in relaxed. Oh, this is unbuttoned, or whatever it was. Be aware, because your full expression is not just your words, but your body language. Body language is key when it comes to sales.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've read, I forget what the exact stat was, but it's like 50% of communication. I don't, it's not 50, I'm making that number up. I forget what it is, but it was some huge percentage of communication was actually nonverbal, in terms of what people actually take away, and especially like the emotions they get from it. Like things like, do I trust this person? It's less for things like that. Sometimes it's less about what you say and more about your body language.
Absolutely, because you're communicating. And if someone is hearing you speak about your product and there's some doubt in your face, probably not going to get the deal.
Yeah.
So, first of all, again, work on that belief that you might not have about your product. Oh, mine's not as good, not as fast, whatever. You need to clear that, or you need to figure that out. You don't want to go in there and fake it. And then secondly, again, make sure that when you're communicating with enthusiasm, and you're right there with your client. It's just a whole body experience, which is whole body intelligence, not just the brain. We have intelligence in every cell of our body. Things happened. They're in there. The last sale makes you feel good. The last rejection might not make you feel good. You want to clear those before you speak about it with someone, because they'll pick that up.
Absolutely. And in your book, you talk about, you say we're in an IQ-based culture, and you coined a different term for another type of intelligence, BQ. Can you tell us about BQ and what is it, and how can a salesperson out in the field leverage their BQ to help them connect with their prospects and customers?
Thank you. Good question. Well, again, we all know about our IQ, right? There's tests and how smart we are, and how much we can say that sounds intelligent. Of course, a term that's become kind of popular right now is EQ, emotional intelligence. People weren't aware of their emotions. People weren't aware of what they were portraying when they were talking about. If you're emotional and you're excited and you're authentic, people are really going to want to work with you and buy from you. The thing I noticed was missing was that not being aware of my body language, or things that happened yesterday or this morning that might still be living in my body. So I search for answers not just in my mind and not just in my emotional body, but my physical body. Like, why was I feeling tense when that person said that? That's good information I need to know. So I'll breathe and I'll listen. I might feel something. I might put my hand on that area and go, oh yeah. The body remembers everything. That's what I think people don't know. And that's why I've written books, What's Your Body Telling You? Whole Body Intelligence. Because your body has a memory. It's called cellular memory. It's in the body. And sometimes you won't realize, but something that triggers that memory, or something that's similar to that memory, you'll feel it in your body and you can relax it. But if you're not aware of it, then your body will start to speak that tension or that fear or that memory. It's an unbelievable source for me, or a resource for me, when I'm writing books, when I'm putting together anything, to listen to my body and to go in there, because my body's been there from day one, Steve. It has memories, it has intelligence, it has experiences. And to just work from here up, we're missing a whole library. I call it the library of your flesh. There's a library in there. And as you learn, and in my books and the work I do, I help people access that. And bam, they might go, oh, that's why I was afraid. I'm not really afraid now. I was afraid because I was holding my breath, because somewhere in my body memory, there's something that is starting to come up. Let me get to that information. Let me breathe and release and move that information out so I can walk into my sales call present, and I can be aware if a customer says something gets triggered, which happens for me when I'm in there with a publisher and we're talking about my book and they might say something. I might go, oh, my stomach's a little tight. Let me relax. Ah, I see what that was. Yeah, the last time I got rejected by a publisher, et cetera, and then I become present. You see what I'm saying? So it's a source that we're not using enough of for amazing amount of information from the past that we can access. It might be something you're feeling in your chest. It might be something, how come when she says that, my shoulders go up? And then you can learn from that and clear that and use your body as another way to learn about yourself and learn about things that might help you make the sale.
And this might be related. In your book, you also talk to how we've formed viral beliefs that can date all the way back to our childhood. Tell me about first of all, what are viral beliefs and how do they affect us? And then how do viral beliefs impact field salespeople and how they sell?
Mm-hmm. Well, like I said, it's like when you catch a virus, it's something that's in your system and it doesn't feel good. So a viral belief might be, my company isn't big enough to get this deal. Or in my case, will people want to hear about body intelligence? Will people want to hear that their body's going to make a difference in their sales call or in their ability to succeed? And if I start to think, no, it's not relevant, or gee, that last time I talked to that person, they thought it was ridiculous. That's a viral belief. That's like a virus that lives in me that says what I have, what I'm offering, what I'm speaking about isn't going to get me the result or isn't as good as it might be. So I work on changing that to a vital belief. What I have to offer is going to help a lot of people, even if they don't know what I'm talking about yet. I'm eloquent enough, I can put it in words to get it across. And I think a lot of people do that. When I was selling business equipment, my biggest competitors were like Xerox, obviously. They were bigger. I was with a company that was big but smaller. A lot of salespeople that I trained had that viral belief. Well, I'm not Xerox. Well, I'm not, my machine isn't as fast. My machine isn't as well known. But that belief kept a lot of the salespeople from succeeding. My belief was, okay, I'm with Konica, I'm with Royal. That's not, they're big names, but it's not Xerox. So I'm going to go in there and believe that maybe they're going to get rid of Xerox. And they would tell me, yeah, we've had Xerox for 6 years. We just got rid of 37 of them. We're looking for something new. Bingo. See, that viral belief would have kept me from going in or believing that I could have that opportunity or sell that book in a new subject matter that hadn't been talked about before. Versus the vital belief is that somebody will buy this book, somebody will buy this machine. What I have to offer and me servicing will give them what they need. And that, I'm guarantee, will make a difference in your sales out there. Get help with those beliefs. Use a coach. Talk to your sales manager. Work on where they came from, because a lot of times they're not even real. They're not even present. They're things from our past. If you got rejected in a relationship, you start dating, you think you're going to get rejected again. If you got rejected by one big client, you might think a viral belief, all clients are going to reject me. Those are the kind of beliefs we want to get out of our system like a virus and bring some more wellness into ourselves and say, yes, I have what people need, and I'll learn and I'll grow and I'll keep practicing how to get it across, but I will succeed. And that took me to the top in most fields. And I'm happy to say that because it was as much about my belief system as much as the products.
One of the cornerstones of your work is a technique called SET. What is SET, S-E-T, and how does it work?
Well, SET stands for self-evident truth, which is what we've been talking about a lot today, is that in me, I have the ability to listen and go inside for what's true, as I just explained. So I just called it SET because it's a self-evident truth. You take a moment, you take a breath, and you ask yourself, is what I'm saying true to me? Is it self-evident? Is it something I believe in and feel within me so that you don't share things that aren't true? I find, Steve, unfortunately, salespeople say things that either they don't believe in or they think the customer wants to hear, but they're going to find out later that it wasn't true. So I always clear within myself my own self-evidence within myself. Is this true for me? Is it self-evident? Do I feel it from head to toe? Am I 100% confident? People selling equipment would say, and they weren't sure, but they say, yeah, we can do that. Or, yeah, ours is good quality as the other ones. Or, oh, yeah, mine is faster. That's not true. So check in. Make sure before you say something that you are finding evidence within yourself. It's a self-evident truth, and you're able to say it with 100% confidence that it'll never come back at you. And I'm proud to say in sales, that worked because I never said anything I couldn't, and I was fine to say, you know what, that machine is faster. However, look at the quality of that copy and my copy. So you might lose some speed, but you're going to gain quality. That's the kind of salesperson I am, and I want people to be, because you're going to get a better result, much better than trying to make up stuff, saying something that might not be true. Verify it here. Verify it with yourself first. If it's not true, don't lack the confidence just to go, no, you're right. They have that. We don't. We might have one in a year. But right now, if that's what you need, and people loved when I would say that. If that's what you need, I want you to have that. However, I've got a few other things I can show you. They'll go, wow, this guy's like, I trust him. And that's really always my goal. Tell the truth. You'll get a better result. Even if you think you won't get the deal, you might build a relationship.
Absolutely. And this kind of reminds me of something that I've advised people in the past. Who, if you can't speak truthfully and honestly about your product and feel good about it, or if you have to say things that aren't true to make the sale, it's compromising your integrity, and you're better off selling something else, right?
That's true too.
You don't want to sell people lemons, and
very good point.
And in general, in the modern world, I think it's about if companies are selling lemons, that the internet figures that out and puts it on there, and then if you screw over your customers, then they talk about it, and there's all these platforms now for people to talk about it, and so people will find that you're not selling a good product, or that it's not a good company, and so you'll get in trouble anyway if you stay. So as soon as hey, this thing is not this, it's compromising my integrity to sell this product, I feel like you're better off to start looking for something else to sell right then, because there's a lot of things to sell, and a lot of them create value, and you're better off spending your time on the things that create value than selling lemons.
See, that's a self-evident truth. That's something within you. You have an integrity level. If it's not self-evident to you, then what I'm hearing is you're not going to say it or share it or make up something to get the deal, because it's going to come back at you. And that's the kind of thing I would constantly do, especially when I was selling business equipment, or when I'm selling a book or something to a publisher, or I do a lot of speaking gigs. I'm just going to be me. I'm not going to promise somebody that I'm going to speak about something or woo the audience with something that's not me. And that way, if I don't get the deal, I don't get the deal. But if I do get the deal or I do get the speaking gig, then I'm 100% confident to deliver what I promised. And I think that gives me an edge because I'm more relaxed. I'm happier when I get up on the stage and people feel it. And I know when I get off that stage, everything I said and promised, they will find will come to fruition. And that makes me feel good and makes them feel good. It's really, especially nowadays, for many reasons, trust, authenticity. Those are key. You've got to be trusted by your customer. You have to be authentic, even if it means you're afraid you're going to lose the deal. And rapport, eye to eye, look at your customer. Again, be aware of your body language and notice what they're doing. And I have no problem, Steve, saying, hey, I noticed when I said that, you kind of tightened up a little bit. If you don't mind, I'd love to know what that's about. You know, most people would never say that. They'd be so afraid. But I've always gotten a great response from that. They go, wow, thank you. I mean, I remember one of my biggest clients, I'm talking about like thousands of machines, came from me asking those kind of questions to a very, very big executive. And she was like, wow, you got a lot of guts. And I appreciate that. You noticed something going on for me and you inquired and you asked. And most people wouldn't. Thank you. So I just figured there's nothing to lose at that point. And in fact, it's actually almost become a technique for me because I find that it builds rapport and trust and usually gets me what I want. And I think too many salespeople, unfortunately, you know, there's a reputation for salespeople that piece is missing, to be able to say whatever is true for you and let the customer feel like what they say is important and you heard it versus trying to, oh, no, you know, trying to talk them out of it. I don't do that. I just listen and I go, I appreciate that. Usually it's good to repeat back to someone, let me make sure I heard what you said. So what you're saying is you want 11 by 17, or what you want is you want a book and you want a certain amount of exercises in it. Is that correct? Yes, thanks for hearing me. Okay. Now it's up to me then to be honest and go, well, you know what? My book actually has exercises in every chapter. Or my book has no exercises, which isn't true. It does. But you see what I'm saying? It's that kind of listening and ability to really build that kind of a relationship right from the beginning through how you speak and what you respond. And don't be afraid to ask customers if they look like they're thinking something or they're pausing. And the other day I was talking to someone and I told her, this was a client, and I said, you know, what you were teaching, she had me listen to one of her seminars, I said, was great. But I have to tell you the truth. You took no pauses. You gave people no chance to absorb anything that you said. Now, she could have said, oh, heck with you. But she said, wow, thank you. Nobody's ever said that to me before. I said, I believe that's affecting your income and your output because, and the people that are coming to you because you have great information, but you never give us a chance to take it in. And I was the first person to say that. That's authenticity. That's that's my truth. If she would have said, I don't want you to be my coach anymore. Okay. But that's the kind of, I'd always say to people, you hired me to be your coach. I'm trying to tell you, you speak too fast. There's no pauses. Slow it down a little bit. Give the people an opportunity to take in what you said before you go to the next point. And she was thankful.
Yeah, I mean that's what a great coach does. I mean, for sure, you got to be honest with people, or else they're not going to get anything out of it, right? Or not get as much as they could have.
Well, I think sometimes coaches think they're there to pat them on the back, and I've worked with, you've seen my list of people, you know, some coaches of professional teams or a VP of some organization. Everybody's the same to me, Steve. I'm either going to do my work authentically and help them by giving them what I see, my reflection, in a kind, constructive way, or I'm not a good coach. That's where I'm at. That's where I come from. If you hire me as a coach, just like, I'm in sports, you see a coach pull somebody aside and tell them what they're doing that's not working, and then they go back in and change it. It's the same thing for us coaches as well.
Yeah, I think that's highly applicable as well to management or coaching, any kind of leadership. I think that type of authenticity is really important, and willingness to give the hard feedback.
Absolutely. From head to toe, from what they might be wearing, from their body language, from how they said it, to not giving their customer an opportunity to take in what they just said. All of that made me a good sales manager when I was managing in sales. And I feel like it helps me be a better coach today. Just say what you notice and don't worry about making them happy or sad. Your job in any kind of sales is to point out the benefits and the features and give it a moment for them to take it in. And then if they have a question or they have something to say about it, just be honest. No, we don't do that. But here's what we do. And I think you'll get much better results by being that kind of an authentic listener and somebody who shows they care.
Yeah, now you have a chapter in the book on how to boost relationship mojo. Tell me about what relationship mojo is, and how can being more in touch with our bodies help us build relationships as salespeople?
Thank you. Well, I think in personal and business, and especially in sales relationships, it's kind of like what we've been talking about. Your mojo, your juice, your energy, and rapport. So if you're all high up and all hyped up, and your client's kind of laid back, that's not a good relationship mojo. That's not a good relationship building. You're not where they are. I'm who I am, but I also try to match my customer. So relationship mojo, just like any chemistry, right, is when two people are vibing, two people are listening, they're looking at each other, they're hearing each other, they're taking turns speaking. You do all the talking and they don't, it's not a good relationship mojo. They say something important, but you talk about the next thing, it's not a good relationship mojo. Good relationship mojo or rapport is when it's a two-way conversation. You take time and not long. Try to be brief. Say what you say and then sit back and listen. Often I repeat. So let me make sure I heard what you said. And they go, oh, yeah, thank you. Okay, great. Anything else? That's relationship mojo. It's two-way. Steve, I'm sure you see this. I saw so often coaching salespeople. It wasn't two-way. They went in, they did their dance, and somebody was just exhausted or didn't really get a chance to ask questions or take anything in. So relationship mojo is rapport back and forth, listening, pausing, repeating, giving people time to answer, listening and being interested in what they have to say before you say what you want to say next. I think that's key. People go from step A, step B, step C, step D, forgetting what the person said. I don't ever do that. I wait and make sure they're complete, ask enough questions and go, okay, so do you feel complete about that? Great. Let's go to another topic. And that's mojo. That's I think in any relationship, that's how it could or should be.
Yeah, and there's so many parallels between relationships with customers and relationships with everyone else in your life, right? I mean, and that's important to remember sometimes. This is another human relationship.
Exactly.
A story that I've heard you tell that I'd really like to hear you recount here is your story about your experience in India with the Dalai Lama. Especially with respect to how you recommend listening and acting to your physical hunches. Could you tell us that story and fill us in on that?
Sure. Well, I was before I started this career, I was planning to move to Hawaii. I was living in San Francisco area where I am now. And I thought, well, what can I do? I need to do something really different before I just hop from the Bay Area and dropping the sales career, and then going into writing books and living on an island and coaching there. And I decided I would take a trip somewhere really crazy, you know. But again, I took some time with that. I listened, and I kept hearing India. Now, my mind said, "India alone? Are you crazy? It's this, it's that. It's dangerous. It's not dangerous. It's, you know, too many people. What are you doing?" But somewhere in my body, again, because I trusted, I just kept feeling and hearing, "Go to India. Go to India." Okay, so I go to India. I pick a city, and I find myself a room. And the next day, I just kind of followed a hunch and just started walking and seeing what was around. And I saw a group of people, and I said, "Hey, what's going on?" And they said, "Well, he doesn't come here often, but the Dalai Lama is going to be at so-and-so, and somebody offered me a ride." And all of a sudden, I'm in this field before anything started, and I see a bunch of men in these purple robes, and inside is the Dalai Lama. And the Dalai Lama pointed at me and kind of laughed, like, "Yeah, I thought you were going to come." Or I don't know what he was thinking, and he had a tremendous message about being authentic, being yourself, you know, following your inner spiritual self. And that was my first day in India, Steve. So that really taught me. After that, I said, "Okay, Steve, you're going to listen, you're going to follow your hunches, and you're going to take some risks. Because if the first day you go to this wild foreign place, not knowing what was there, and your first day walking, you follow an instinct, and then somebody says like this, and rather than being afraid, I went, all right, well, what can I lose?" And he says, seriously, he didn't speak English, but he said, "Dalai Lama." And I said, "Dalai Lama?" "Dalai Lama." So I followed him, and I met the Dalai Lama. First day in India.
There you go. And how can field salespeople use this this knowledge about physical hunches in their careers?
Well, again, I think you have to really know that you have whole body intelligence. Name of my book, name of my work, my website, because don't just go with the mental, "I'm too small, my product isn't good enough, will I, who they, what." Stop all those questions and listen. Is this a customer that can use your service? Is this a customer that will benefit from what you have? Do you offer value? Ask those questions of yourself and notice you have a body that can give you answers. It's not just in your head. Many times I said, "Wow, something's off. Something's off. What is that? Is it because I've heard from others that company is too big, don't approach them? Is it because maybe I don't have the right product? Is it because so many people said there are too many books in the marketplace, who needs another one?" And then I would get the answer, like, that's fear, or that's something from my past, or that's me being influenced by her fear or his fear versus what I want to do. I wanted to go to India. A lot of people said, "You're crazy. Just go to Maui. What do you need to go to such a crazy place for? It's dangerous. It's this, it's that." I went, I don't know. I'm just getting a hunch. Same thing in sales. How can you go to that big company that has all of those machines and expect to get yours in there? I went, I have a hunch that I'm going to meet somebody there and I'm going to connect. And I never said no. I just went from door to company as I became a manager to bigger companies and so forth. And it paid off. But I noticed and still notice how limiting, Steve, people in sales keep themselves because of their belief systems. They just won't listen to the possibility that you might meet somebody there. Maybe they'll say no, but they'll turn you on to somebody else. Really listen before you say no, and listen to those gut hunches, especially when you're in front of the customer. If you're feeling something in your body, be aware of it, because that's where I think salespeople, and where I taught salespeople, miss it the most. They just kept talking, didn't listen, and they weren't aware of all these signals they were sending. And they wondered, why didn't I get the deal? And I go, did you notice how you were speaking too fast? Did you notice you didn't let that person answer? Did you notice your head was down a lot and you were hunched? I think that's why you didn't get the sale. And they go, wow, you mean I have something to do with it? I said, yeah, it's not just your product. It's how you present yourself, how people feel around you. If you're going to be in sales, it's not just a one-time sale, it's a relationship. And they're not going to want to have you as the person. They're not going to trust that you'll service them. You're too fast or you're off to the next customer. They'll feel that. They want to be held and important. They want to feel like they're the most important person. So when they call you, you respond. And I tell you, that was my gift to them. Anybody that bought from me, they always got a call back the same day and somebody out there by the next day to fix the problem. If you're going to sell, you've got to service as well.
Absolutely. Well, that's a great segue into our next section, sales in 60 seconds. So quick questions, quick answers. Tell me, what factors do you think hold salespeople back from connecting with their body?
I feel like you really need to do something, whether it's meditation, yoga, exercise, sports. I feel like a lot of salespeople work from day to night and they don't realize that there's a lot of stress being built up. And it really makes a difference if you're a relaxed person, if you're in your whole body. We've talked about that the whole time, the different signals you get, the different information you'll get, and how you'll present yourself to people. I think that's key.
And are there any challenges to maintenance of the whole body intelligence?
I think the challenges are that we forget and that we might move too fast, but there's no challenge to learn how to breathe properly. There's not only in my books, but many classes and many videos and so forth. Again, just remember this. When you're breathing up here, you're in your sympathetic nervous system. You're tense. You're not relaxed. When you're down here and you're talking to a customer and you're quietly breathing in your belly, you're in your parasympathetic nervous system. You're more relaxed. So other blocks would be, again, the different beliefs that you build and carry and into a sale. And I think that the main thing is really study your product, really study the benefits and the features, and learn how to express them briefly in a valuable way to someone. How's it going to help you? If you can do that, your sales are going to go up. I mean, I was not a salesperson necessarily when I got into sales, but I had been into psychology and exercise and awareness, and I brought that into my sales career. And that's where I rose pretty quickly because that became as important as what I was selling.
What would you say is one daily habit that salespeople should try out if they wanted to lower their stress levels in their life?
I would advise you, because I've mentioned it several times, seriously, take some deep breaths throughout the day, through your nose, fill up your belly, and just let your jaw relax. There's a lot of tension in our jaw. Like, it will immediately relax your nervous system. It relaxes you, and then you're better equipped to go in there and speak. So I always tell people, breathe, body language, exercise. Do those three things. Be aware of your body, do a lot of deep breathing, and exercise. Even I got some of the salespeople to walk at lunch because just sitting and eating and getting on the phone, I don't think was as effective. Get outside, take a walk, and they would come back and go, wow, it's almost like their day is restarting versus exhausted.
Mm-hmm. As an actionable takeaway, what should the field salespeople listening today do as a first step to getting started on improving their whole body intelligence?
Well, I think the first thing to do is remember you're in a body, and like I said, that's part of your presentation as much as anything. Secondly, join something. I always went to the gym every day. The 5 days I was selling, I always stopped off somewhere and did a half hour of exercise, even like took a steam in a shower, and then I got back out on the street. I felt like it was a new day. Um, do exercises, do things in your body, meditation, whatever you can do to keep you as a more relaxed, happier person, better relationships, better communication. I think that's the key. Do some exercise every day. And if you can, and I don't know what your job's like, get outside, take a walk, find a place in your office to do some stretching. You're going to feel like it's a fresh moment. And I think that's what salespeople lose by their sixth hour. Or, when I was in sales, Steve, when I started, we had to make 100 calls every Monday, 100 phone calls so we could set up our week. And I watched people, because I was already into yoga and exercise. Oh man, by the 50th call, they were burnt. But no, man, every 25 calls, I took a walk. Every so often I would stop the calls because it was just too much. Reboot, 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 and then come back and make the next 25. And I feel like I was more effective that way.
Absolutely. Yeah, that makes a ton of sense. So I'm going to try to summarize all the things we've talked about today.
Thank you.
Obviously, you've given a ton of valuable information here. So, but I'll try to fly through it here for all the folks on the road. So Steve's rebooting technique is something that you can do to help you prepare for your sales call. And the steps to do Steve's rebooting technique are: first, make a commitment. You make a commitment to place your attention on the prospect or customer. Second is breathe. People want to feel comfortable with you, so make sure you're relaxed, maybe before you go into the meeting or while you're waiting in the waiting room. Take a few deep belly breaths, and then 3, scan your body while you're doing that, and pay attention if you're tensed up or if you're slumped over or doing fidgeting, whatever, and develop that habit of scanning your body and being aware of yourself, so that you'll present better, speak better, and people will and kind of have a better presence when you're giving presentations or in a sales call. Fourth step is declare. So you declare to yourself what you're feeling or noticing. Like, oh, I'm noticing that I'm fidgeting here. Oh, I'm noticing that I'm breathing shallowly, or whatever. But declare it to yourself, so you're aware of it. And then fifth step is take action. So take action on the thing that you've declared. So stop shaking your leg and take a deep breath, or uncross your legs, sit up straight, etc. 6 is visualize. So you want to visualize how you will connect with your prospects and customers before the meeting. So visualize success, visualize them listening to you, visualize you communicating the value of your solution, etc. 7, prepare and relax, so that you can be ready for the meeting and you enter calmly and in a good physical and mental space. BQ is body intelligence. Your body has intelligence just like your brain, and it remembers past experiences that will show up in your body. So you got to pay attention to your body, so if you feel tight in the chest, or if you're breathing shallowly, you can identify that you're doing it, learn and figure out why, and learn from it, so that you can address it and sell better. And sometimes it can be a momentary thing, sometimes it can be a longer term thing. It can be a viral belief, and you want to target viral beliefs and see how you can overcome them or combat them. For example, you don't want to think that just because you got rejected from this type of prospect once, that you always want to shy away from that type of prospect. It's kind of a thing that we do as people, is we learn from examples, but sometimes those examples can just be too small of a sample set, and so you kind of learn something, but it's incorrect. A lot of biases are based in this way we think about the world. You want to have vital beliefs instead of viral beliefs. So vital beliefs vital belief would be that you will be able to sell this to a prospect. You will be able to succeed. So you want to kind of turn those viral beliefs on their head. Set is a technique that stands for a self-evident truth. And so you want to take a moment and think, and think, is what I'm saying true for me? So you want to make sure you're speaking the truth and that you believe in what you're doing. Do you believe what you're telling your prospects? Because if you really believe it, then that shows through in your confidence. That shows through in the way that you're presenting, and that builds trust and makes you more successful in these situations. Now, if you aren't in a situation where you can really believe in what you're saying, because truly, like, you're selling a piece of junk, then I would recommend start selling a new thing, because there's so much stuff out there to sell, and so many companies to be involved in that have great prospects or great products rather, and it's really better to be selling one of those. Good relationship mojo we talked about. That's where there's good, equal, two-way communication. As a salesperson, you have to make sure you listen, that you pause, and that you show interest in what a prospect is saying during each of your conversations to have that good relationship mojo, that back and forth. Steve, this has been so useful and valuable. Where can our listeners read more about your work? Where can they reach out to you if they want more Steve Sisgold?
Thank you. Well, they can go to website, wholebodyintelligence.com, or Steve Sisgold, SISGOLD.com. To my website, they can get some books at the library, or they can get them on Amazon, What's Your Body Telling You and Whole Body Intelligence. And I just want to say, what you just demonstrated, Steve, the way you fed back what I did, that's what we're talking about in a nutshell. You heard, you listened, you took notes, you fed back. That's the kind of sales I'm talking about right there.
Well, once upon a time, I was a sales guy, Now I just play one on TV, but
But you demonstrated exactly what we've talked about this whole interview.
Oh, thanks. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. That's all it takes.
Well, this has been a fantastic episode of Outside Sales Talk. Steve, I really appreciate you coming on the show. If any of our listeners can think of a rep on their team or a rep that they're friends with that would benefit from learning about the stuff that Steve's taught us about relaxation and being in our bodies, then definitely forward this episode on to them. And Steve, I really appreciate you being here, and take care till next time, everybody.
Thank you, Steve.